Good afternoon in other places. So my name is Debo Onifade. I'm bringing this show, Liberating Nigeria. Um, um, and today my objective is to talk about how the youths can get political power, or maybe take over political power. We've had a couple of weeks of protest, and I've had cause to talk about it multiple times. And today I just want to talk about a lot of things. And I'll start with an article I wrote in April. So I exchanged messages with the journalists, Nigerian journalists, in the last few days, and I was referring him to my article. It's titled "Liberating." It's titled "Revolution in Nigeria. Let's Face Reality." It was published by LiberatingNigeria.com, also by Vanguard, by the Nation. I think more than 20 outlets published the article. And I talked about the fact that revolution cannot work it cannot fix our problem. But I didn't stop there. I also proposed solutions. And I think most people that are politicians, most people that have really studied Nigeria well, fully agree with virtually everything. And I just want to encourage you to find it and read the article. It's on liberatingnigeria.com. And I've also talked about it in a few prior videos. But today I would just focus on some specifics. Um, and before I continue, let me also say this. Apart from writing, I I wrote a book, Liberating Nigeria, and I sent a copy of this book to Falz in January. I don't know if he read it yet. I sent a copy to Pastor Sam Adeyemi around June. I sent it to his address in the US as well as to his church. I think he got it. I don't know if he read it. And this is just acknowledges that I've made efforts to reach out to influential people that have greater voice than I do. And the idea is to explain to them, to humbly explain to them how I think these things can be fixed. And by the way, um, Femi Falana wrote it forward, and I engaged with him, and he fully agreed with a lot of things that I said. So I'm just trying to explain this to say that I don't believe that I know it all. I believe it's important to engage with many people, and I have tried, and I continue to do that. Um, I believe the youth leaders have to humble themselves to learn a lot. You know, uh, at the beginning of this protest, I was saying things like, I was telling people that when youths are saying we no get leaders, I was scared and frightened for them. When you say that, it just made it easy for me to believe that it wasn't going to end well. There's just no way you can make meaningful success without leadership. If you have leaders, for example, as soon as they got government attention, if they had good leaders, the leaders would have told them it's time to get off the streets. It's time to negotiate. And when I was saying this to a friend, he said something like, "Oh, Debo, mention the leader." And I said, "I'm not afraid to be wrong. I always say something. I don't just say leader." And I said, "Why didn't we work with somebody like Shehu Sani, or a northern leader? Do you know how great it would have been if we had put a northern face to this protest and continue to do I mean, we could have Lagos as the engine room, but having a northern face or northern leadership face would have been fantastic. It could have won us over a few northern groups. This protest would have had a little bit more national face, and we may have had greater success. But as soon as this protest seemed to be a southern protest, all 19 northern governors dissociated themselves from it. Imagine that that included Christian states in the north, Christian governors. The north was united and they said they did not support EndSARS. That already was an indication that it wasn't going to end well. And let me give you a few examples. So today I saw a 2023 um, demo poster, whatever I'll call it, of Pastor Sam Adeyemi being the presidential candidate and Aisha Yesufu being the vice presidential candidate. Something like that was also pushed around a few weeks ago, and Falz being the presidential candidate and Yesufu being the vice presidential candidate. Do the youths even know that Aisha Yesufu is not from the north? She's an Edo lady who grew up in the north. She cannot be regarded as a northern candidate. I really want youths, especially southern youths and the diasporans, people abroad, to understand this basic stuff. That as long as we do not carry our northern brothers along, we're just bunch of jokers. We are, I mean, I don't want to say we are fools if we continue to think that the energy in Lagos or abroad, in Europe, America, is enough to create change or to get political power in Nigeria. It's a joke. Again, remember, getting political power is a solution. Attention is good. International attention is good. National attention is good. But without political power, we can't go far. Our success will be limited. Political power is what we need. That's what Ghani did not have. And Ghani was our champion in the 90s, early 2000s. But he did not have political power. And I'm talking about Chief Ghani, the late Chief Ghani Fawahimi. We need political power. And that's my focus today. Let's stop this joke. Okay, to be frank with you, Pastor Sam is not going to win an election. I respect him so much. Falz is not going to win you an election. You need them. But you have to stop this joke. Especially thinking that you can plan things from abroad or from Lagos and it can result into political power. No, sir. No, ma. They don't even know that Yesufu is not from the north. Something as basic as that. I looked at the list. So finally they started talking about, okay, now they said we should get leaders. Okay, we need to get leaders. So I saw a list, and I looked at the list again. I was so sad. First I was angry, but then I was sad. I see Mr. Macaroni on the list. I see Lila Johnson. I see Obi Ezekwesili. Obi Ezekwesili is not going to lead you to political victory. That is a fact. She has no political capital. I'm just being honest. Mr. Macaroni will not lead you to political victory. He's a comedian, a joker. And that's why I'm focusing on political power here. That is what we need. And until we tell ourselves the truth, that we need to work with some politicians who may not be good people, we're going nowhere. Until we tell ourselves the truth, that we need to work with the Marjories, we need to work with the Talakawas in the north. We need to break the influence of the northern aristocrats in the north and get some of these Talakawas to our side. Until we do that, we're joking. If we think that we can get political power by just focusing on the South and diaspora people who don't have voters card, we will go nowhere. And you look at what has happened eventually, and you take stock. For people that their own issue was anti-Tinubu. I said at the end of the day, property I mean, if you want to break it into numbers, maybe 95% of the property destroyed in Lagos will hurt us, the masses, more. It's sad. It's very sad. If If what happened was, if the looting was limited to just looting uh, property of looting palliative relief materials, I'll probably say um, good luck to them, because those things shouldn't have been kept from the public. But if you're looting from private people, destroying BRT buses, we're going to hurt regular people, the masses. We're not going to hurt the government people who are going to continue to enjoy our money. The government is going to use taxpayers' money to fix those issues, to fix what we destroyed. And that's what happens when there's no leadership. All over the world, protests can always easily be hijacked. I was impressed today when Tunde Bakari said they had to deliberately, in 2012, make sure that they went to Gani Fahimi Freedom Park. They it was still a risk. It could still have gone bad, but they've channeled their efforts smartly to avoid disrupting traffic, to avoid issues. And when the army was coming out, they retreated. That's a good lesson, because that's the truth. The last time, 2011, 2012, 2010, we didn't have bloodbath when there were protests. And there was no looting. There was no massive looting, which means they did quite a good job. But the fact is that protests generally all over the world, not just Nigeria, majority of the time don't end well. They don't give political power to the masses. Even when power is changed, oppressors, another type of oppressor usually takes over power. And why are we protesting? Is it to deliver power from one oppressor to another? No. It's because we want to deliver power to the masses. And I think that that calls for better reasoning. So I want to talk about, so somebody said that, a brother of mine said that, oh, the pastor supported it because they were not happy about Kama. They wanted to have their own pound of flesh against the government. And I disagreed with that. I don't think Pastor Sam or Pastor Adeboye, I don't think any of them supported because we're angry about Kama, about the Kama laws. I think they were genuinely concerned, but I also think they were quite ignorant. We overestimate the ability, or we overestimate many of these people. They are very grounded in the Bible, but some of them don't understand politics very much. Pastor Sam understands leadership, can tell you all those things, but does he have any political capital? No. Does he understand what happens when protests are hijacked? Maybe not. Does he understand that? Does he remember that in Egypt, in many parts of northern Africa and Middle East, that um, protests didn't end well? Probably not. If you look at Black Lives Matters in America, there's a wing that is politically linked to the Democratic Party. That's organization. And that's why usually the Republicans don't agree. They always say all lives matter, because they understand that Black Lives Matter is kind of closer to the Democratic Party. Not as a whole, but there are political elements in the Black Lives Matter movement that identifies more with the Democratic Party. And the Republicans understand that. And that's why they rather say all lives matter. And that's why it will not go away anytime soon, because there's an organization. There's nothing wrong in having protest. Even in America, it can be hijacked by looters. But how do we organize it to make sure that eventually it can help towards taking political power? And that's my objective today. So That's my belief. I don't believe. I believe that this the new group, whatever it metamorphosizes into, has to work with politicians. Let's not be arrogant that we know it all. We have to learn from local politicians. I talk a lot to a lot of. I talk to many grassroots politicians to learn. Even though I'm a historian, I mean I'm widely read, but I still talk to grassroots politicians. I ask questions. I learn. I humble myself to learn, even from people I don't like. When this issue started, I was talking to my Fulani friends, I was talking to my journalist friends. I was asking questions. I was trying to learn. But with the social media age, we have this belief that youth is synonymous to knowledge. Social media expertise is synonymous to knowledge, but we are very wrong. Something as basic as understanding that protest without northern collaboration is bound to fail, is bound to be treated with some ethnic coloration. So, I like to talk about Sheon Kuti, though I vehemently disagree with his pan, um, I don't know what, black superiority or things like that, or the fact that he's always having Che Guevara, you know, at the back of his wall all the time. I don't believe in socialism. I don't think Che Guevara achieved anything significant for his people. Tell me where Che Guevara's efforts worked. Is Cuba is Cuba running a good? Is Are Cubans happy today with their revolutionary government? No. Are Colombians happy? The whole of major part of South America, where a lot of revolution happened decades ago, are not prosperous today. So this idea that revolution or Che Guevara, they are angels, is false. They led revolution against the West, but where are those countries today? Are they the best countries in the world? Is communism helping countries prosper anywhere in the world? No. I don't agree with all that when Sheon says them. I don't know how much he has read about current history in these countries, but I fully agree with Sheon Kuti every time he talks about the need for political power. I fully agree with him. I'm trying to meet him. I'm trying to engage with him. But I just want to say I fully agree with that point. Every time he emphasizes the need for political power. And that is something I've been talking about for years. We need to come together and understand that political power is the most important way. As a matter of fact, is the only way to solve our problems. Only. We've prayed enough. We've been praying for how many decades now? We've protested. We protested before the military. We got the military out, but who took over? Oppressors. That's what happens sometimes. I was telling people, if you ask Buhari to resign, even if he resigns, what happens? Oppressors take over. So to talk about, I think I've talked about looting. I probably would have talked. I would have just said good for them if the looting was limited to, um, if it was just limited to palliative items. So let me talk about IPOB. Some of my friends vehemently disagreed with me when I was saying that IPOB is a disaster that has to be cut down as soon as possible. We underestimate the value. We underestimate the impact of incitement. We had a group, an IPOB group, that was throwing petrol into fire from the online space. That was inciting massive violence in Lagos or in the South. it didn't help matters. I believe it contributed to what happened, and I'm happy that the Ohanese has come out to denounce them. But they need to do more. Somebody needs to talk to these guys. It's just going to keep making things worse. The distrust between the North and the South is going to continue if we continue to say things like that. As a matter of fact, distrust between Yoruba and Igbo is going to grow wide if IPOB is not called to order. The Yorubas and Igbos have lived together for decades. They have their differences, but they've been largely fine, especially when it comes to business. If you allow somebody to come in between you, between the Yorubas and Igbos in Lagos, it will be so sad. So I call on Igbo friends. I think it's their responsibility to fix it. The Yorubas can't fix this problem. The Igbos have to call IPOB to order, let them know that no violence, no incitement can create a breakaway. Biafra is not going to break away. Don't fool yourself. Majority of the Igbos that have prospered in Lagos and across Nigeria are not going to support you because they have enjoyed this country, Nigeria. And even if they don't support, even if they support you, unfortunately, the North is not going to allow Nigeria to break away. But I want to share some history today, especially to youth that may not know what I'm saying. When we keep talking about restructuring, the North doesn't want to break. Of course, the North doesn't want restructuring. But do I blame them? Maybe not. Who caused this problem? Nigeria was divided into regions until the civil war in 1966, until the first coup in 1966, which the North largely sees as Igbo coup against the North. And then we had an Agoyi Ironsi that took over and issued the unification decree because he wanted to rule across the country, which was unnecessary at that time. It was Agoyi Ironsi, an Igbo man, that forced us together, that created the unification that did not exist hitherto. The North kicked against it. The North did not want the reunification because they were not happy that a guy that took over power through a coup against their leaders, as you know, there are a lot of arguments about was Ironsi part of the coup or not. I don't want to get into that. But the fact that he was a beneficiary of the coup. And the North didn't want him to unify the country because some of them just did not imagine that they would get orders from Agoyi Ironsi. But he insisted that the country will be unified. He wanted to rule from Dodam Barracks, from Lagos, ruled across the country. And what happens? The North took over power later in the year. At that time, it was a united North. For some of you may not know, major players in the coup were Christian North, Danjuma. And the head of state was a Christian Northerner, Yakubu Gowon. So it was a North that was largely united at that time, Christian and Muslim. And they vowed to keep that unification structure. There's no reason for them to break the country again because Ironsi had already brought the country together. And they decided they were going to keep the country together. And as time went on, like everybody knows, the economic power in the North diminished greatly. They'd always had issues with education, but economically they were quite okay. But economically they diminished over time, reinforcing their need to keep control. I'm a Nigerian, but I'm first a Yoruba man. But I also follow history. So they've decided that they'll keep the country together. That's why even when the Biafra wanted to break away, they fought hard and said the country is not going to break. Like Yorubas fought, Igbos fought, everybody fought. You think those people are going to allow you to break away anytime soon? No. Let's not fool ourselves. Restructuring is not going to happen soon. I support incremental restructuring. Let's do it bit by bit. But the whole scale restructuring that many of us are clamoring for, it's not going to happen soon because the North is not going to sanction it. I don't blame them. We have to face that reality. The restructuring is not going to happen soon and think of how to fix this problem, fix this country without restructuring while we continue to hope and pray restructuring happens. Are we going to fold our arms and say, not, we're not going to do anything until restructuring happens? No. So before I go to action plan, I'll talk about, I just want to talk a little bit about what the Niger Delta people did in the early 2000s, even from the 90s. And just reinforce to you once again that it's very difficult, almost impossible, to change things without political power. So these guys, because the Niger Delta could bring Nigeria to its knees, they could disrupt oil production. That gave them more power than any other group in the country. Because they were able to destroy production, they were able to reduce our oil production, which means reduction in income. So Nigeria at some point had to negotiate with them. And that's what some people will call revolution. But again, remember, they had an advantage because oil, which gives us maybe 90% or 80% of our income, or which I don't know, I think the figure has gone down now, but it used to give us about 80% of our income. At that time, they had power because destroying that was destroying the country, as a matter of fact. So the federal government negotiated with them. But you know what? 20 years down the line, has the people, the regular people in Niger Delta, how much of benefit have they got? Very little. The elites, the political elites in the South have benefited far more from the 13% derivation, all those largesse, NDDC, amnesty. The political elites have benefited far more than the regular people in the South. When I was telling you about, fighting for pressures to take over, that's just another example. They fought greater derivation, NDDC, amnesty, but the real people have not really benefited. Education is poor, infrastructure is poor in the South. So, and again, when the youth, many people don't even remember what led to Ken Saro-Wiwa's murder or death, whatever we call it. The youth revolted. I don't know if you remember that. The youth revolted and killed some important personalities. Ken Saro-Wiwa did not order the killing, but it was roped in. The government said he ordered the killing and he was killed. Protests caused the killing of Ken Saro-Wiwa because protests that led to death of some important people who were, I think, corrupt people actually, people that were very close to the big companies and stealing money. But it led to the death of Ken Saro-Wiwa. So, what is my proposed action plan? First of all, I'm sure we all agree now that political power is the only way. And you don't win political power by only gathering good people or professors together, no, or activists, no. You have to find some politicians who you want to work with. So I need to, and I'm so sorry the weather here, but I think I see some questions. The first secession was actually carried out by the Niger Delta. Adaka Boro led. That's correct. Yes, that's correct. Boro led the first secession movement. That's absolutely correct. But like just like I said, it didn't work. It didn't work. You know, and that was a better time actually. But the strategy was not really right. Boro was a brilliant guy, young guy. I don't, he didn't have a lot of political support even from his people, from the leaders, and they were crushed very easily. Yeah. So that. Thanks for bringing attention to that. It's good to discuss some history. Hopefully, these young people will learn from this. So I keep saying this: you're not going to win election through people like me or Femi Falana or Tunde Bakare or Obieze Kwesili. No, no. We need to wake up and stop this thought. Patutomi. They have no political capital. They are smart, brilliant people that I respect a lot, but they are not the people that will take us to that political promised land. And if you think you're going to read up, you're going to deploy strategies from Europe or America, again, you're fooling yourself. We need to find some politicians that we can work with, bring them to our side, and work with them. When I keep talking about Talakawas, like, in the north, are you going to go to the north and speak directly to Talakawas and Amajiris? No way. You cannot do that. But you have to find leaders in the north that you can talk to. Remember, I said in one of my last videos that talked about Aminu Kano. He has a lot of ideas that were related with all those ideas. It was a socialist. I don't really support socialism. I need to reiterate that. But he was loved by the Talakawas. Where are the Aminu Kanos in the north today? They must be somewhere. They may not be popular. They may not be rich. But what is wrong in getting money in Lagos to help some Aminu Kanos in the north, help them to become more influential and use their influence to gather support from Talakawas, from Amajiris, and form a union, form a strong political movement that will include people from the south, southeast, north, Christian north, core Muslim north, and the southwest. That is the only way we can do better in elections. We can then begin to win some Senate seats across the country, some House of Rep seats. We can win maybe a few governorship seats before we shoot at the presidency. But if we stay in Lagos or stay abroad and continue to think that because of our social media skills, or because of our rhetorical skills, or because of our knowledge, we begin to work with leaders who can only help us in the area of policies. Remember, policy is good. I think I did 70% of my chapters in my book focused on policies, maybe 30% focused on politics. Well, you know what? The 30% on politics is the most important part. Without political power, you cannot achieve anything. Yeah, you can achieve a little, but not a lot. Yes, we can achieve a little, but not a lot. So, so I talked about, yeah. So I talked about Aisha. Now you put Falz and Aisha Yesufu as presidential. You know what that means? Yoruba, Ekiti, and Edo. Ekiti plus Edo, can they win elections in Nigeria? No way. Oh, I don't know where Pastor Sam comes from, but Pastor Sam is also Yoruba man. Yoruba plus Edo. Can they win elections in this country? No way. Let's stop fooling ourselves. That we've created some success, we've got some government attention, EndSARS has been disbanded. Fantastic. Let's not think because of that we certainly have enough to push for political power. We need to collaborate wider. So I'll say one more thing. So a lot of people also say things like, let me see if I have another. A lot of people say things like, oh, why you talk like this, Debo? They're not really so many in the north. Why, it's just about rigging. It's about cow. And I said, okay, I'll give this example. We have 6 governors in the southwest. I can talk about the southwest more because that's where I'm from. I think most of them, virtually all of them, have one wife, I believe. I may be wrong. I don't think any of them has more than 5 children. All of them, even the Muslims among them, have one wife. So who is the most one of the most modern, one of the most polished governors in the north is Malam Nasser El Rufai, Kaduna State Governor. He has about 2 or 3 wives, more than 10 kids. I think between 12 and 15. Emir Sanusi, King's College graduate, massive, massive respect across the world. Lagos person, is pretty a Lagos-based guy. Has 4 wives. I don't know how many kids, but probably more than 15. And these are highly educated people. Now I talk about the uneducated ones that have 20 wives without money. So let's not fool ourselves. The North has the numbers to determine who wins elections. So we need them anytime we want to take political power. They have children, a lot. They turn out to vote. They don't care about staying in the sun for 10 hours to vote. They don't turn back home when they hear bazooka sound. They try to stay. But just put up a banger sound in Lagos, many people will go back home. They won't even come out to vote. So I'm reiterating this because I'm saying we need them. That's the fact. I just don't know how to lie. I don't know how to deceive, to just speak English and deceive people the way some of our leaders in the South do. That's the fact. Stop all this English about social media and stop saying we no get leaders. That is really bad. You have to submit to leadership. I said in one of my last videos, I was saying something like leaders are not necessarily perfect people. Even leaders in the Bible were not perfect. And the Quran, they were not perfect. But this idea that you can't submit to leadership is a major destructive attitude from the youth. Why? Why? What is bad in submitting to leadership? You can change the leadership if it's bad, but it's always good to have a leader. And that's why you go to North, the leader tells them who to vote for, they vote, and they defeat you in elections. You need to have a leader. You can change. And that's why when these anti-Tinubus are like, okay, if people are not satisfied with Tinubu, we need to work hard to find another leader. But as at now, he's probably the de facto Yoruba leader. And people have to acknowledge that. And there's nothing wrong in having leaders. Without him, people like Fashola would not have become governor. And Fashola is an example of people that did quite well. He wasn't perfect. There's nothing wrong in having leaders. Before the military went away, one thing that helped the activists was that they had a central command headed by Gani Fawahimi. There were several groups, Shehu Sani, Olisa Agbakoba, Femi Falana, many of them. But they submitted to the leadership. They largely submitted to the leadership of Chief Gani Fawahimi, who called the shots, and they respected him. And he was able to galvanize them together. So even in 2003, when he contested, he had over 150,000 votes. So already did not even get up to 50,000 votes. That is about 16 years after. Because Gani Fawahimi had relationships across the country, and people submitted to his leadership. In 2011, I voted for Buhari because I submitted to Pastor Tunde Bakari's leadership. I don't support Buhari any longer, not one bit. But I'm saying that I voted for him in 2011 because I saw Pastor Tunde Bakari as a leader that I could trust. So we need to have leaders that can help with negotiation. Credible leaders, I mean. I'm not talking about people that will collect bribes. Are we saying there are no good leaders in Nigeria that will not accept bribes? That's not correct. There are people that, hold on, thanks for this. Uh, there are people that, there are leaders that we can send to negotiation tables that will not accept bribe. Absolutely. Absolutely. And even if the leader accepts bribes and compromise, we can change that leader. If we have a leader today, doesn't mean he's going to be a leader forever. We can change that leader and say, sir, we want you to step down. Yes. But to say we don't have leaders or we don't get leaders or we don't want leaders is a height of ignorance. Like I said in one of my videos, I set up liberatingnigeria.com. I wrote a book. I am trying to be very active. I'm focused on the knowledge part. I'm not pretending that I can lead a political movement. I'm focused on the knowledge part. I want to enlighten young people and teach them history, teach them politics. That's my area of specialization or area of focus. Let me put it that way. And people should have their own areas of focus. Even the current leaders got into office in their 30s. Okay, I'll talk about that. So, so people should focus on on different areas, but we almost come together under one body. There's this organization that came up some weeks ago. They made a lot of noise, headed by one professor, one British Nigerian professor, I think from England. I forgot his name now. Where are they? They've said nothing since then. I think Professor Patitomi is in that group. We have different groups. Obi Executive has a group. Professor Mongal has his group. Everybody has to focus. And I see a lot of overlaps, too much overlaps. It's not going to help us. People should focus on core areas. And let's come together. If we are 100 groups, let 100 groups come together under one single group. And let's have one leader. One. For me, if you ask me to propose right now, I can propose Femi Falana. And I can propose Shehu Sani in the north. They are credible people. I don't believe anybody will bribe Femi Falana if we send him to negotiation table. But guess what? People will say he's too old. He's too old. We no get leader. That's my view. I don't think anybody can bribe Femi Falana to compromise. I also don't believe a Shehu Sani can be bought. These are people that have worked together for decades and have worked with politicians. They know them. In the political scene, I have also suggested people like Audu Ogbe. He's in APC, so he may not want to identify with us, but we can meet Audu Ogbe in the night time. There's a lot to learn from Audu Ogbe. If you listen to him, he has so much wisdom, so much political wisdom. He's been around for a long time. I think became a minister in his 30s. He's a Christian northerner. You can learn a lot from him. Sit down with people like Tunde Bakare, who has rolled with a lot of politicians. In the East, we have people like Obiano, even people like Peter Obi. We can learn from him. Let's learn from anybody that we can learn from. Let's drink from them. But if we just say, oh, they're old people, they're part of the bad generation. So this guy said, yeah, so they learned from your 30s. Yeah, that's correct. But you know what? Awolowo was in his 30s. How many of these youths, I'm so sorry to say, in their 30s or 20s, know 10% of what Awolowo knew when he was in his 30s? No, there's massive knowledge gap. We are so arrogant. We feel we know a lot, but we don't even take time to read. The Hours worked with the British. They learned from the British, and they also sat down to learn among themselves. They also had leaders. But these guys read a lot. So I'm encouraging our youths. We need to read. We need to learn. I mean, that's why I'm not just talking. Everything I'm saying, I'm backing it up with certain solutions. I'm not just saying read. I've written a book. I wish I can get money to deliver free copies. I'm giving a few people copies. I've asked us to give some NANS officials free copies because I want them to learn, the National Association of Nigerian Students, leaders. Because a lot of these NANS people don't know anything. All they want to do is collect money from government. But I've asked us to give to a few of them, say, learn, try to be like Awo when he was in his 20s. But so my book goes on Amazon. It's at Roving Heights Bookstore. It's at Glendora Bookstore in Ikeja City Mall, Surulere Mall, Patabah. It's in Booksellers in Ibadan, Abuja, Abeokuta. Where else? It's also on Amazon. Online also can be bought from Dylan.ng. So we're looking for ways to be able to distribute free. But the point I'm making is that not just my book. Read articles, talk to older people. If you get a chance, sit down with older people, ask questions about how elections are won in Nigeria. We have a lot to learn from those people. So, Fashola was 57. He was in Tinubu's cabinet. Tinubu was governor 21 years ago. He moved to he was 36. So, age is not the problem. Well, that's correct. I agree. I don't believe age is the issue. I always propose. I mean, for me, I don't really like this idea that youths are better than older people. We all need to work together. Today, some of my classmates and I were chatting or arguing, and somebody was talking about age. Another guy said Shagari was 54 in 79, Awolowo was 70. Who would you have voted for? And the other person said, oh, of course I would have voted for Awolowo, but he was 70. So age is not really the key issue for me. I prefer somebody that's young, but young doesn't mean good. We need to learn from older people. Young and the old have to come together to learn and see how we can salvage our country. It's not about age. Let's stop this idea that the older people, old means corrupt. No. Or old means wrong ideas. No. Are we saying it's? Are we saying that? Are we saying that? Are we saying that the reason Buhari is not doing well is because he's old? No. He has just chosen to do badly. I don't want to give any excuse to anybody that age is the issue. Like somebody said today, the Kogi governor, Bello, is in his early 40s. Is he a role model for youths? Many of the governors that are either in jail or having corruption cases today, they were governors in their 40s from the 99. James Ibori was governor, maybe early 40s or probably late 30s, I think. Is James Ibori a role model for youths? Many of the Yahoo people, Yahoo Plus, are they not in their 20s and 30s? Are they role models? So for me, it's not a matter of youth. It's more of coming together, learning and understanding what it takes to win elections. Um, this is what they were doing when they were cancelled. Okay, so somebody made a good point. Yeah, their leaders knew. Oh, that's a very good point. This is a very good point. She said our leaders knew what they were doing when they cancelled history. I never even thought about that. I thought they cancelled history because they want. Oh my God, this is a very intelligent point. I thought they cancelled history because they didn't want us to know about Biafra war. They wanted, according to them, they wanted to foster unity. They didn't want us to grow up learning about the war. But this is a very good point somebody said. Now, they cancelled history because they don't want us to even understand issues. They want us to, they cancelled history because they want us to be so, I don't know, I wanted to say stupid, but let me not use that word. They just want us to be ignorant. I think that's a better word. That's a very valid point. They cancelled history because they wanted us to remain ignorant. And they know that ignorance just helps them to continue to dominate us. That's a very valid point. So I'm trying to read, it sometimes affects thinking. Baba just to so this person says it sometimes affects thinking. Baba is just so well, that's a valid point. That age sometimes that's correct, I think so. But Awolowo was 70 and he could have still done well. And Obasanjo is 86 today. When you listen to him, he's still sharp. Not that I support him in many ways, but he's still sharp upstairs. So I don't think it's all about age. You know, just like I said, Obasanjo at maybe 86 is still very sharp. I don't know how old he is, maybe close to 90 now. And you know, is it what is his name? The Ekiti governor, Fayemi, that ruled from in his 40s, and he's still regarded as a young person. Did he do well as a minister? I mean, I don't want people to talk too much about age. Let's focus on people's track record, ideas, um, and ability to walk across the country. How much can you walk? How much can you walk with other people in a country that is largely divided? Nigeria did not get divided during, people say things like Nigeria has never been this divided. I don't agree. I think people are just being too sensational when they say that. Buhari has not done well, but we have always been divided. Check election results in 1993 and see division. Check election results in 79, 83 and see division. Check election results in the 60s, 59 and see division. We've always been divided. So we need to utilize our diversity in a better way. We're not going to split. Nigeria is not going to split anytime soon. How can we work together? Just like I said last week, Nigeria is like a marriage where the husband and wife don't like each other anymore, but they look at the cost of separation. Children are going to suffer. We're going to have rent. You know, when people separate, what does that mean? Husband has to buy or rent his own house. The wife has to rent her own house or buy her own house. And eventually, the expenses will be higher. So sometimes they decide to stay together just because they've looked at the cost. I used to know somebody in America who was practically divorced from her husband, but they continued to stay together because they didn't have enough money to rent two different apartments. So this, so Nigeria is like, the cost of breaking is so high that we need to find a way to live together. Period. The cost of breaking is so high that we need to find a way to live together. And restructuring is so difficult. I know it's going to happen at some point, but until then, we have to find a way to work together and to still improve our country. We cannot give that excuse and say Buhari has wasted 6 years because of no restructuring. No, he could have still fixed the country considerably, even without restructuring. So let me see if I can answer a few more questions. Why are we so concerned about the federal government? Our state governments have done more damage than the FG. That's correct. That's very correct. I think many of our governors are worse than the president. And that's why, sometimes when people talk about state police, I didn't share that sentiment. I didn't agree. I said many states cannot even pay salaries. They're owing salaries of their teachers. Imagine you ask that government to start paying state police. When that government starts owing police, you're in trouble. The day you start owing police holding guns, that day the society is in trouble. I didn't support it, especially with the financial status of many states. But sometimes we just like to follow the bandwagon of state police, state police, state police. I support Amotekun, the way it is structured. Not every state is going to be able to afford it, but I love the way the Southwest governors are, planning it. Even the northern states have their own. The way it is right now, we need to find a way to improve it, but to eventually have whole-scale state police like it is in America, it's going to be difficult because of the financial status of majority of the states in Nigeria, and also because some of the governors will hijack it. The governors are worse, and why I keep talking about coming together is because it's going to be nice if we have a third force party. that has a senator from Lagos, a senator from Katsina. You have pockets of House of Reps from all around the country. It helps to make that party look like a national party, and that party can grow into something big. But if you just start a third first and you just win a House of Reps seat in Abeokuta, in Ibadan, and that's it, it's going to be seen as a regional party. It's going to die as a regional party. But if we have two House of Reps seats from Southwest, two from Northwest, one from Northeast, three from North Central, one from you have those seats all around the country, and then you have maybe one, two governors from the South, two from the North, and these governors begin to do very well. They become a model. Guess what? Other people in other states will join, and they will not see the party as a regional party. So my issue is whatever we are setting up, we must make sure it doesn't have an ethnic connotation. So can we hold the state governments accountable? They kill the LG and kick this. That's correct. Can we have a state serve as a template for others? Lagos to be a template. Absolutely. I think the states also yeah, just like you said, states a lot of governors have killed local governments. No doubt. I said earlier that even the South states, the people have not benefited. And that's why when people talk about restructuring, I say, yes, we need to restructure, but the little money the governors have had, what have they used it to do? By the time you now tell them to have trillions, especially in the South, they will just become extremely rich and the people will still suffer. So, I disagree when people say the only solution is restructuring. No, it is a big deal. We need to restructure. But while we wait on restructuring, we need to find a way to still fix as many things as we can fix. Is it restructuring that is stopping state governors from fixing the healthcare? Ogun State has federal general hospital, one general hospital in the last 30, 40 years. Is it restructuring that is stopping the state from creating multiple general hospitals in Abeokuta? No, in Abeokuta, sorry. Is it restructuring? Is it restructuring that made the previous Ogun State governor to spend so much money on roads and neglect education and healthcare? Is that restructuring? No. It's not. Our problem is not only restructuring. Our problem is also that we need to get better people to power. I'm going to be rounding off. So this is anyone can be intoxicated with power, irrespective of it. It takes a mind that understand. That's correct. I fully agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. It has nothing to do with age. Anybody can be intoxicated with power, irrespective of the age. Let's stop this. Youth means good. Youth means knowledgeable. No. As a matter of fact, in Nigeria today, youth does not really mean so much knowledge. I don't like the term lazy youth per se, but it's true that we need to do better. We're not as good as those guys, as the older people in terms of knowledge. That's the truth. I talk to older people. I have a former boss that when we talk, I know he's read a lot of history. And we can talk for 3 hours because of that. I had another boss. I mean, older people, I don't know what it is. Why, just like somebody said, I don't know why they took history away from our curriculum. Maybe today I know the reason. They just wanted to make us shallow intellectually. So it is not about the age. I strongly believe it's about knowledge gap, lack of integrity, lack of foresight. On the Yeah, Bola Tito, thank you so much. Yeah, so thank you so much, Bola Tito. That's absolutely correct. I clearly believe it's not about the age, and I think we all need to begin to understand that we need to collaborate with the older people, and we need to get some of their money to win elections. I'll say this other point as I try to round off. People say we cannot collect money from corrupt people, from wrong people. When the youths were collecting money, when they were raising money for this protest, and they raised maybe 2, 3, 400 million, did you ask the guys that were giving money from abroad where they got the money from? Did you? Did you ask, and when, because some of those payments were done online, crowdfunding, did you ask people to explain how they got their money? And I'm aware that IPOB also donated a lot. So if you got, if maybe 50% or thereabout, I don't know, of the people that gave you money were bad people, and you still collected the money. So what is wrong in if 2022 you form a party, you have some political experienced people join, and you collect their money to win elections? You can't. There's nothing wrong in collecting their money, but when you win elections, you put people first. I've been saying this. I've repeated this several times. If you need to collect their money, if you need to collect their money, you know, if you need to collect their money to win elections. If you need to get their support, I'll give you one other example. My Fulani friend told me this. How did APC lose election in Bauchi? APC, Buhari always does well in Bauchi. He never lost elections there. Suddenly you have an APC governor supported by Buhari losing election. One of the reasons, because you look at Bauchi, Dogara is a very important member in Bauchi, and he's a Christian. Though he's from a Christian, I don't want to say dominated, it's an area that has a lot of Christians. So that helped his election. However, he still has influence across the state. But my friend was telling me that he got a lot of support. Dogara was able to get some influential Muslim clerics to support PDP against that APC candidate, and everything worked together to deliver victory to that PDP candidate. Guess what? Get what I'm trying to say? A Christian guy, Dogara, was able to get some Islamic clerics to support the PDP candidate, and they won. That is what I'm preaching. We need to find ways to talk to the other people, and not only amongst ourselves. Social media click. So let me see if there's something else to talk about. I think that'll be all for today. I want to make sure I don't do. Okay, I think that'll be all. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to our channel. Um, hit the like button, comment, um, hit the notification bell, and watch our show. We have a show every week, Niger Palaver, where one of my colleagues just tells you stories. She delivers this information in a nicer way. I know that I can be boring, but that's why we started Niger Palaver, so that you can get good information delivered in a more exciting way. But I want to come in also maybe once in 2 weeks, once a week, to explain things to people, to do my best in my little voice to be able to explain how we can take over power. Nigeria will surely flourish again, but remember, we can flourish together. Thank you so much.